I hear that a lot. The media says that Occupy Wall Street has no cohesive message, has no goal, they're disorganized, they're sloppy or messy. I would reject that. The Tea Party, and I bring them up because a lot of people are now starting to say that this is similar to that organization. The Tea Party was funded by billionaires and corporations. They had shuttle buses, websites, glossy bumper stickers ready to go. And they were mentioned at a rate over 150 times more than Occupy Wall Street within the first week. So they had a lot more infrastructure built in, and their only message was lower taxes and smaller government. Nobody ever had a follow-up on that, though. Taxes for corporations are at a 50-year low. Bush tax cuts for millionaires and billionaires still in effect. Capital gains taxes slashed to 15%, lowest ever. Millionaire tax rate since '95, slashed 25%. Oil companies still get a $4 billion welfare check. Taxes are low, so there's no follow-up to that. Their second message from the Tea Party was smaller government. I don't remember the Tea Party around the previous administration when that president increased the size of government more than anyone in decades. I don't remember them when spending went through the roof, the debt ceiling was raised 7 times, we went to 2 wars on a credit card. I don't remember the Tea Party being concerned about spending back then. And the last thing I'd say to that is these are peaceful protesters. I've been in that park since day one. There were nearly 1,000 arrests up to day 19 that I was there to witness, most of the mass arrests. I don't remember any arrests of anyone at the Tea Party. I don't remember any arrests when men showed up at speeches that our president gave armed, with rifles, with handguns. It's their constitutional right to show up armed, but I don't remember any arrests. And yet there's been violent arrests involving batons, pepper spray, police on horseback, police on motorbike, of peaceful protesters that are representing a majority opinion. Most of this country wants to tax millionaires and billionaires at a fair rate. Most of this country wants to invest in infrastructure and education. Most of my country wants to pay cops, teachers, firemen better and make sure that their pensions are protected, that their salaries are protected so that they stay in line with the cost of living in a city like New York. For sure. So I think there's 2 things. One, the Tea Party represents a minority position funded by corporations and billionaires. Occupy Wall Street represents a majority position, and there's been over 1,000 arrests now of this peaceful protest, and I don't remember any arrests of any members of the Tea Party. What do I think will come out of this, or what do I hope comes out of this? It's a long question. It's not going to fit a bumper sticker. It's not a soundbite. I think what is happening here is they're creating space. First in Zuccotti Park, they're creating physical space. Now here in Washington Square Park, for people like me, for people like this gentleman that's holding a sign that says "I love capitalism" and doesn't seem to understand what capitalism means. It allows that space for a dialogue, and if we have enough dialogue, then the country can move forward with the best ideas. What happens, though, is that we haven't had a dialogue. The top 1% can afford millionaire lobbyists. The top 1% can afford $10,000 fundraiser dinners. They can afford to hire ex-congressmen or ex-members of the Department of Treasury into their corporations. They give them cushy jobs, they help them lobby, and they maintain the status quo. The other 99% can't afford any of that. This is all we have. This was in the Constitution for citizens to take to the street and seek a redress for grievances against their government. This is patriotic. I'm surrounded by patriots today. I think the Tea Party, who's looking for corporate tax loopholes and looking for smaller government that will gut social services or gut essential services that help this country, I think that's unpatriotic. And when people say that someone like me, who's you can call me a protester, let's just use that term, who's using an iPhone, I use hotspots, I have a MacBook, I even drive cars sometimes. These are all made by corporations. No one ever asked the Tea Party to denounce the traffic lights, the police officers that were protecting them, the public schools that educate their children, the nurses that help the sick in their community. No one ever asked the Tea Party to denounce all the public spending that they take advantage of. So I reject the notion that people can peacefully protest but can't use something like an iPhone because it's opposite their message. It's a false comparison. It's being spread by the top 1%, whether they're in private sector, government, or even in media. And it's absolutely antithetical to the actual message that this group has, which is just a more fair conversation, an open dialogue with the top 1%, so that we can have a country that's a little more equitable and a system that is sustainable.